All right, hello, and welcome to another talk that we're organizing for our college virtual showcase. And today is a very special one because I have invited two young people to give their testimony and talk about their experience throughout this college recruiting process. Both of them went through this process. They were recruited, they played college tennis, they have graduated, and now they are in the same recruiting world because they are working with USP. So today is going to be very interesting because you're going to have young people talking to a young people audience and maybe some parents. So pay a lot of attention because what they're telling you is how exactly it went for each one of them. And I think it's going to be very valuable for you to learn these experiences. So first of all, I want to welcome Reinaldo Golindano. Reinaldo, how are you?
Hi, Thomas.
Good. And also we got in our long distance from Texas, Marton Horvath. Hi, Marton.
Hey guys, how are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for joining, both of you. So, Reinaldo, let's start with you. Very young.
Yep.
Ended up going to college. How did that happen?
Well, I was actually born in Caracas, Venezuela, but I basically did my whole junior tennis career here in the U.S. Played in the academy setting throughout my whole junior career, and then once the time came to go to school and start looking into the process, I had the chance to obviously work with USP. And I ended up going to Belmont Abbey College,
Nice.
which was a great opportunity, a great experience for me.
Right, and you come from Midtown
From
Athletic
Midtown
Club.
Athletic Club, yes.
Right, Midtown is a big group of clubs, but they have a high performance academy in Weston.
Right, we had a high performance academy in Weston, and throughout my career, I was always under Luis Brest, because for me, which was a great coach throughout my whole career.
Yeah, perfect. Marton, what was your story?
Yeah, mine was pretty similar. So I am originally from Budapest, Hungary, and I grew up there. I played there competitive tennis all through my junior career. Played obviously the national and international tournaments under 16, and I played ITFs and all of that. I was always ranked in the top 10 in Hungary, sometimes top 5. So I had some hopes to become professional early on, but unfortunately, I realized kind of midway through that that's probably not going to happen. So I started focusing on the college career and trying to come to the U.S. and ended up making that happen and went to Lamar University here in Texas.
So Marton said something that we hear a lot. You had a hope to play professional tennis. When did you wake up and say, hey, wait a second, it's not going to happen? Did something happen, like you play a tournament, you didn't do well, or did your parents sit down and talk to you? I mean, when was that key moment?
You know, it was probably a transition over time where I started hearing about college and learning more about it and seeing what a good opportunity it is, and then kind of slowly realizing that how much it takes to become a professional, both from tennis-wise and financial and all of that. So I think it was over a period of time, maybe of 6 months. I want to say maybe when I was, 15, 16, 17, by 17, I was 100% sure I wanted to go to college, and that's the path for me. But it was kind of a transition, and I think I see that with players as well, where they kind of in between and can't really decide, not sure what to do. So I can definitely understand that. I was in between for a while, and then just decided it was best to go to college.
Do you regret not going pro?
No, not at all. I mean, I also had the opportunity to speak to a lot of professional players who did not go to college, and most of them tell me that they wish they could have gone back in time and get that college degree, because it's such a safety net to just have that degree, and then you can play a little bit more freely in the professional tour.
Is it possible to go to college and succeed in professional tour, in your opinion?
Absolutely. I mean, you have cases, Kevin Anderson, John Isner, Steve Johnson. I mean, there's a lot of players that went through that path and they did great.
Here in the U.S., we have that mentality. Most kids are thinking college, even though the top rank probably are considering pro. In international, Marton, I know you're from Hungary. Is it tough to convince a kid that they should go to college rather than trying the pro?
It is. Yeah, I think it is. I think there is a misconception about what you were just talking about, Thomas. Whether if you go to college, it's basically a lot of kids see it as if you go to college, you're giving up on your dream of becoming a professional tennis player. And especially in today's environment, but for years, that's just not the case. And Reinaldo already mentioned a few examples. I just watched JJ Wolf yesterday beating Guido Pella in the first round at US Open. He just came from Ohio State. So the examples are plentiful. And in some cases, I would even argue, especially for certain countries, that going through college is even a better preparation for the professional career. For example, in Hungary, it's a small country. There's not that many players. It's hard to find good competition and good training partners. It's very difficult financially for most families. There's sometimes there's support from the association, sometimes not. So it's very burdensome financially. So I mean, for a lot of kids, college makes sense even if they are still hoping to become a professional player.
Thomas, if I may add something for other players listening, if you look at all the players in the top 20, now a lot of players are reaching their athletic peak around 30, 31 years old. I mean, you look at all the guys in the top now. So I feel like now that it's tougher in the men's tennis to be a top player when you're 20, 21, like it used to be before, it makes more sense to even go to college, keep improving your athletic game, also get the degree, and then you're probably going to reach your peak performance around a later age nowadays.
And it's not only about hitting the ball, it's about if you're mature enough psychologically, mentally, are you strong enough to handle the traveling and losing week after week.
Absolutely.
The fitness part, you're playing against men. Yep. And then also the financial. Do you have enough money to survive for maybe 4 or 5 years? Do you have the sponsorship? Do you have the support from your family? Because it takes time. Yep. So absolutely, good messages there, guys. So all right, so your recruiting process, let's talk about that. I think there's a lot there to learn from in your case. So, I mean, we helped you through that process. Yep. I remember that. Yep. You work with us here. And when you first sat down, you said, okay, I'm going to go to college. Did you have names of universities floating in your head? Like, okay, this is my dream school. This is where I want to go. If I don't go there, it's going to be a complete failure. How'd that go?
Thankfully, I was always pretty open to all options. And I think that was part of the success I had in the process. And I think that's where USP really helped me, which was, being open to all options and being prepared and being organized in the whole process. So for me, at first, when I heard about Belmont Abbey, I had no idea what it was, and many other schools that I spoke to in the process, you're used to the big name schools and that's all you think about. But for me, it was about finding the perfect fit, which is a lot of what USP kind of was trying to guide me through. And I was able to do it. I was looking for a place where I had a coach that really cared about my development as a player and the mental aspect of the game. Because I felt like technically and physically I was there when I wanted to be, but I just needed that mental edge. And for me, I was able to work with Coach Michael Solomon, and he was a perfect fit for me.
Good friend of ours. So when we said Belmont Abbey, you said Belmont what? Where is that? Right? Yep. And that happens to us a lot, in this business, I mean, our job is really to make sure the school fits the right profile for each kid. And it doesn't have to be a brand name. It doesn't have to be the UCLA right. or the Stanfords or the Dukes. That doesn't really
right.
mean it's
and I mean, I have examples of friends of mine who were focused on big name schools and the name of the school, and let's say they went to the name of a big school, but they didn't have the same experience that I did. The team culture that I had at Belmont Abbey and just the group of guys that I was able to be with, and obviously the coach. I mean, for me, I had such a great experience over there.
Yeah, we're going to talk about your experience. Lamar, how the hell did that happen? Lamar, did you ever hear about Lamar before?
I have not. So I had a totally different experience from the recruiting standpoint. I didn't even know UXP existed. If I did, I probably would have done differently. But I did everything on my own, and I probably made 99% of the mistakes in the book that are possible in my process. So, I had a total different experience. I did, like I said, everything on my own. I just knew a few schools. I looked up the map and look, okay, well, Florida looks really great, and it will be great to go to California. So I just picked some schools from there and wrote to them. And I managed to meet a few coaches by chance that came to Hungary. But in the end, everything kind of fell through, and I made all the mistakes of waiting too long, of only contacting a few coaches, of thinking that if a coach wrote back to me, that meant something, that I will get an offer right away. So I ended up, I wanted to start in 2009 fall, and I ended up not having anything by April of 2009, and so I ended up getting a last minute offer from Lamar. The coach contacted me. That was through a different coach that I was talking to at the time. And he said, I have a scholarship for you. We are close to Houston. And I signed. So that was my experience.
Well, let me tell you, both of you really had it easy. I went to New Mexico Military Institute. Just so check out New Mexico Military. You wake up at 5 in the morning and you have to go and march. And that was my college experience. So you guys got it easy. If you're in Europe, let's say all these European countries that now we talked about, a lot of kids realizing that the professional route is so tough, and now they're thinking college. Do you think most people in Europe could name more than 10, 20 universities?
I really don't think so. I really don't think so. I mean, I could probably name 5 or maximum 10 at the time, and that's obviously some of the biggest name schools that I wouldn't have a chance to go to anyway. I mean, I knew about Harvard and I knew about UCLA and schools like that, but 99.9% of the students, unfortunately, don't really have a chance to go there and play on the tennis team for us, speaking about tennis. So and that's still the case. I think, I see that so often that kids are generally familiar with some of those really big name schools that are known worldwide, and then they know a few that their friends went to, and that that will probably be 10 to 15 schools at most, when we know how many schools there are in the U.S. college system.
Yeah. So now that you've been working with USP for for some time now, and you have worked with a group of kids, and you have helped them go the route. How does your mind has opened up whenever you sit down with a client and you say, well, let's work on your college list? How is it different, the way you approach it now versus approaching it many years back when you didn't know about this process?
Yeah, it's just so different because we know so many schools and understand from all different aspects. I mean, when I was looking, I was only considering tennis level, not even anything else. And there were a few schools that I wasted a lot of time talking to, where I had no chance getting in because the athletic level was just not where I was. I'm sorry, the academic level was not where I was, so I couldn't get in and be admitted to those schools. So now understanding, okay, there is one aspect, athletics, how good the tennis team is, and will the player fit in there? That's kind of the first step. But then, of course, academics as well, and then we look at the financial side as well. So it's just day and night of what we know today and what I know today about the college system, and having an idea. When I talk to a kid right away, I have an idea of where they would fit, and a bunch of schools pop into my head that could be a good option for them. That was definitely not the case when I was looking for schools.
Belmont Abbey, you arrived there. How was that shock? Was it? I mean, did you do a college visit before?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did. Yeah.
Do you think that was a good idea?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was a great idea. I also had the chance to go to school with, some of my best high school friends. So I think that made the process so much easier. But that visit really helps you kind of know where you're going, the different culture that you're going to be facing for some cases. And I think that's probably the hardest part is now there's no more mommy and daddy there for you, So it's your responsibility level has to be very high once you get to college.
But from the college visit to the real thing, when you really got there with your suitcases and now I'm going to stay here for whatever years, was it much different? Was it what you expected?
For me, it was what I expected. I was super excited to go. Like I told you, with being able to go with my friends, that helped a lot. But I know that's not the case for most people. But I was ready for it. It was an experience that I worked my whole junior career to get there. So it was something that I was just so happy to be able to be there. And then, the biggest thing that took me a little while to get adjusted to is that now just the level of freedom you have, and you got to be able to manage your time correctly, because that's the hardest part.
We have
Right.
heard that so much. When we talk to coaches and we ask them what do you see as the biggest challenge for most players, they will say it's time management. They're kind of used to going kind of with the flow because they know that dad and mom is going to wake them up in the morning and take them to school, and
Yep.
then they have training. So now you have to organize yourself.
Absolutely.
So would you say that was for you the biggest challenge too?
Yeah, I think the just time management,
Mhm.
and then I mean for me, simple things such as the laundry. I wasn't used to doing the laundry at my house. My mom would help me out with that, but sometimes you forget. You're at night. You do your whole day training, classes, studying, and then you get at night. You go in bed, and then you think, oh man, my laundry for tomorrow. So it's the things you don't really think about, but those little things are a big change for our daily lives as young kids.
Now you're back home. You still doing your laundry?
Sometimes.
Marton, what was the biggest challenge for you?
It was my experience, and for the viewers out there, if you guys are watching this, so I didn't get to go to a visit. I had no idea what to expect. I mean, I've seen some pictures of the university, and that was it. I mean, it was a complete shock for me. It was a fairly small town. I'm from a capital, 2 million people. Went to a town of 100,000 people. And the university, everything was just so different. I've been in America. I've been to Canada before once ever before coming to the U.S. and it was just a complete shock. My life completely changed from all aspects. Probably the only thing that was similar is playing tennis, but that from the food to accommodation, some of the things that Reinaldo mentioned of all the responsibilities, those are very difficult at the beginning. And for me, the biggest challenge was definitely managing school and tennis in the very beginning, especially that I started in January. We started with the season right away, and that was just very tough. And I definitely, now that when I work with players, I try to avoid that. Of course, for some people it's the best option, but for me it just happened to be that way, and it wasn't my choice. So it was really difficult in the beginning.
I think the fall really prepares you as a freshman to kind of slowly,
Absolutely.
build you up to what you're gonna expect. I mean, I feel like I would find it super tough to do what you did and start in spring, because my spring season was, super packed, and then the time management. I feel like fall was able to slowly help me build up to that.
Did you have doubts? Were you ready to jump in a plane the first couple of weeks and go back home? You say I made the wrong decision?
I did not. It was very interesting. I think I was so busy and so occupied all the time. I had things to take care of and things to places to stand my ground and prove myself that I never really thought about it. It was always something I think I was just too busy to even think about that. Yeah, I was too busy to even be homesick. I feel like that first semester. I just wanted to prove myself and show that I belong there. But I've seen that even at Lamar University, I've seen that numerous times where that happened. And again, that could be a reason for a not perfect recruiting process. There are many reasons, but that's something also that we try to make sure when we work with clients that they are ready for what's coming and they're going to the right place, and then this can be avoided. But I've seen that. I want to say 4 or 5 players in the 10 years that I've been here, where players left as soon as 2 weeks in. I witnessed that, so definitely happens.
So from hearing both of you, so far we have learned a few things. We have learned that you need to, first of all, open your mind frame and don't just go with the big name school. I mean, there's so many good schools out there you never heard about.
Right.
You just got to understand what is important for you and then do the good research. So that'll be one learning. Second learning is, ideally try to get as much information as you can. If you can't do a college visit because you're far away, we'll try to get some references. If you could do the college visit, in your case, it helped you a lot.
Yeah,
and you had also people that you knew.
Yep.
That's another one. Talk to the players, right? Because the players will give you the straight answer. They will not try to sell you the team like maybe the coach will. So that's a good advice. Okay, so let's move forward, because now you are in college. You are already going to your classes and you are training every day. How was the training different from college versus junior?
For me, the training was fairly similar due to the fact that I was already in an academy setting, and Belmont Abbey had a huge team. We were talking about 30 people, so it kind of did feel a little bit like an academy over there. But the training it's very similar. I think it's very competitive when you get to school. For those people that think that you don't need to play that many matches during the week. I mean, we're playing challenge matches every other day almost. So it gets super competitive over there. And even though it's your teammates and you're gonna go have lunch with them after, I mean, at the end of the day, you're there to prove yourself and trying to put yourself ahead of everyone.
Yeah, and Belmont Abbey is a unique situation.
Yep.
How many players in your team?
Around 30 when I was there. Yep.
Okay, so
So
that's not
it was
common.
huge.
Just don't think that you're going to go to a team that's 30 players. Most teams will have 10, 12, maybe
Right.
14. I mean, Belmont Ama philosophy is different. We love it because they run more like an academy
Right.
than a college team.
And it's great because, I mean, during matches when you're playing the clinching match, you have 30 people there watching you. So
Yeah.
it's nerve-wracking, but it's fun.
You talk
I love
about
that part.
challenges. If you're number 30, you gotta move a few steps to get
You do
into
have
the
to move a
roster.
few
Marton, how was training over there in Lamar and the challenge to make the team?
Yeah, for me it was different. We had a small team. I believe we had 8 or 9 players in my first year, and the biggest difference for me training wise was the fact that before I trained sort of for myself, and I if I didn't want to practice that day, I was tired or I came off of a tournament, I didn't have to, right? When I was a junior, I made those decisions, or my parents made that decision. But now I was decisions were made by the coach, and I had to do as everybody else did, and had to show up to practice every time. There's no excuse. You have to put in the work, and that was a big difference for me, especially for the spring season when we played so many matches, and it is common to be tired, but you have to show up to practice, and there is no excuse there. So from a practice point of view, that was sort of the biggest difference for me, and of course, practicing with a larger team. As I mentioned, in Hungary we had smaller groups, really refreshing, and I welcomed the fact that I was playing with 6, 7 guys that were similar to my level. So that was great.
If you're number 7 and you beat number 6 one time that week, would the coach put you to play the next match?
Absolutely not.
So
No.
how do you earn that spot?
It's different factors. I think in my case, I actually had kind of the best experience with that because I played number 6, and during that fall season and the beginning of the spring season, it was 6, some matches 5, some matches 7, so it kept changing. But one thing one of the coaches told me at the end was that they're looking for work ethic. I mean, it's not only about just winning the matches. They see what you put in, if you put in the work in practice, if you're waking up at 6 a.m. going to the workouts, those little things. And also for them, they told me, your level under pressure. That's one of the keys for them. So I think.
Did your tennis get better, Marton, in college?
It did. At first, it got better. Then I had a few little up and downs, but overall, I would say it definitely got better. And there were some aspects of it that definitely strengthened over time. Like my serve has gotten a lot better. My volley is one of the biggest differences. Was volleys, and that's really important for European players. Don't play as much doubles tournaments. The doubles is much less important overall in junior tennis. And then I came over here, and doubles was as important. And I had to kind of learn how to play doubles and be really aggressive and all those things. So definitely a lot of aspects of my game really improved over time.
So if a college, now that both of you have gone through, if a college coach goes to a tournament and watches a player, what is he looking for to make a decision? I want that kid.
I think he's more than looking at the winning or losing. He's looking for those intangibles. How does this kid compete? How does he play under pressure? His athletic level. It's just a lot of things other than, it's not so black and white like people see it, win or lose. You got to show those extra stuff that's going to make a difference.
So UTR is not the whole story?
Not at all. I
Okay.
think it's a part of it, but I think coaches are looking more at the whole picture,
When you call coaches now that you're working and you have a player with a I mean, do you just based on UTR? How do you approach the factor UTR, which we know is important because it starts a conversation with the coaches? But how do you manage that when you have a player who's not really at the UTR that you need?
You know, I try, like Reinaldo said, I try to highlight the intangible factors that are so important to coaches. And again, I think this is something for the players and the families watching. It is so important to not just focus on the numbers and the UTR. It's just part of the story. I try to kind of educate students and their families about all the other things that coaches look for. They look for attitude. They look for athleticism, about, you know, how they handle pressure, all those things Reinaldo mentioned already. And I try to focus on some of those things that I know a coach is looking for outside of obviously a certain tennis level that's based on UTR and rankings.
I'm going to give you guys 1 minute to look at the camera, and you're going to tell these kids that are watching from everywhere, what advice would you give them? Not before. Now they step on campus. They're part of the college team. They're going to be there for maybe 4 years. What is important that they know that will make them save mistakes and succeed? What would you say?
I think for everyone listening, it starts with just being ready and being prepared for the opportunity that you're being given. You know, I feel like a lot of us during our juniors careers, we take everything for granted, but just being able to be in a college team with a great group of guys and just the competition itself, that's something that I personally took for granted sometimes. And now that I'm not able to compete anymore, it's just you don't realize how much value that has in our life as young athletes. And just being able to have that competition and that training on a daily basis and being able to push yourself to see how good you can be. I think that's for me the biggest thing that I would tell, you know, all the young players. It's just take advantage of each moment, because, you know, this doesn't last forever. So
well said. Marton, your turn.
I would try to simplify it for you guys. I think two things, if you do, you'll be successful in college tennis. Number one is just putting in the work. It's the way it is. You'll have to work hard, and showing that to the coach all the time that you're giving your best and putting your best effort will go a long way. And the second thing is making sure that you put the team first. You always put the team first, and you do in everything in order for the team to succeed. You will be doing well in college tennis, and you will succeed.
Thank you, Marton. So Marton Horvath, Reinaldo Golindano, two success stories in the college recruiting process. They went through college tennis. They succeeded in the classroom outside. I want to tell you both, we're very happy to have you in our team. The way you talk at your age, young age, is amazing, because I think you both talk from the heart, and that means a lot. So I want to thank you for the time. Marto!
Virtual fist bump.
Thanks, Thomas.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.